Thanksgiving is a couple of weeks away, but what does it look like during the coronavirus pandemic? In today's To Your Well-Being, we take a look at how you can still celebrate and stay safe. With us today, Cone Health's Infection Prevention Medical Director, Dr. Cynthia Snyder, is joining us. So first and foremost, we want to say, what is recommended? Is it a small, intimate gathering with only people you live with? Can you possibly invite other people, some friends, coworkers, family members?
Well, it really depends on how much risk somebody is willing to take. I think the lowest risk that people can do is really celebrating with those that you live with, and that if you are wanting to still share that, the celebration with your extended family members, to consider doing it virtually. I think one thing that is to our favor is that it's still relatively warm, for this time of year. And so to celebrate outdoors and still having maybe a few more family members over and stay at least 6 feet away, or having smaller tables but outdoors, I think that provides less risk than having an intimate dinner with other family members in a house that's maybe not as well ventilated.
All right, so if you do plan to see older relatives or people that you don't live with during the Thanksgiving holiday, what do the experts recommend doing beforehand? Do we need to quarantine?
In a perfect world, I would say yes. I would say definitely quarantine, and even consider getting tested 3 to 4 days before the event. By quarantine, you're reducing your risk that you're introducing to your family members that may be more vulnerable to COVID-19. And also to think of that, it's still very important to be wearing a mask, especially if you are within 6 feet of somebody, or if you're going to be in a place that's not well ventilated. I believe you can take some changes in the house, by keeping your windows open, possibly your doors, depending on what the weather is like. You really want to increase, air circulation and ventilation in where you're having your celebration, and then really minimizing the time people are within 6 feet of each other not wearing masks. So spacing out at least 6 feet if you could, by spacing out like where people will be eating. And then also, families that are having a college student coming home, I think would be very important for them to get tested before getting home.
Okay, now, should you plan to quarantine for 14 days after Thanksgiving if you were with people outside your kind of safe bubble, or you traveled somewhere?
Yeah, so, all these things can be very risky, right? We mentioned having a Thanksgiving dinner with family members that are not inside your bubble, from different households. And then especially if somebody's coming from an area that has a higher rate of COVID in the community, they're potentially bringing it over, and I think the bigger your celebration, the more chances that you're going to encounter somebody that has COVID-19. I think the part that's really difficult is that when somebody develops COVID-19, they can be either mildly symptomatic or have no symptoms, and yet still transmit virus to somebody else. So by the time somebody develops symptoms, they may have already had Thanksgiving dinner with you and have exposed everybody. So if somebody's meeting, like having a gathering with folks that they don't live with, quarantining afterwards could also make sense.
So if you are gathering with people that you don't live with and you're going to eat the Thanksgiving meal, all right, so what should that look like? Different serving utensils and things of that nature? I know the spacing apart already, but how else should it look?
I would say I would designate one person to be delegating, putting all the portions out. You really want to minimize kind of that potluck style that many people are used to for Thanksgiving. and it's best served that the one person kind of portions all the plates, and then also does, making sure you have hand hygiene station. People are sanitizing their hands before and after they touch any other utensils, and then also when it comes to beverages, especially if you are having more alcoholic beverages, it can decrease your awareness of, your use of wearing a mask or talking, becoming a close talker, or, maybe singing or yelling, and we know like having more excitable, like singing or yelling, and those types of activities can spread more COVID-19 and SARS-CoV virus into the air. So we unfortunately want to make sure that you are just aware of those scenarios. So spacing out is important when you're sharing a meal, outdoors preferably, or a well-ventilated area. Would have one person doling out the meals, and then like having obviously wine or any other beverage can be fine, but as long as it's not done to excess.
Mm-hmm. So what if someone at the gathering just doesn't quite agree with needing to wear a mask or stand 6 feet away?
So that is the challenge, right? Probably like politics, like not everybody in the same family believes in the same school of thought. And that is a very big risk that we're taking. If you have somebody that doesn't really believe in masking, and they're just going about their daily business, there's a good chance that they could contract COVID-19 from their community and then kind of import it to your Thanksgiving party. And if that's the case, I think it's best to discuss ahead of time the expectations of the dinner that you're having and that celebration, that you want to keep everybody as safe as possible. And then if somebody's feels that they're not comfortable following those recommendations and masking to protect everybody, then maybe consider saying, let's do it next year when it may be safer.
All right. Dr. Snyder is going to be with us until 6 o'clock. She's going to be answering your coronavirus questions when we come back from the break. So you can text us your questions, 336-379-5775. We'll be right back.